Hey, quick apology. The first version of this video uploaded is only 13 minutes long, even though it was a 41-minute video on Tesla. And so I started seeing comments and people were like, this got cut off. And then I look and I'm like, no. I thought maybe it got cut off at 39 minutes. No. Big mistake, my failure. So if you watch the previous 13 minutes, fast forward to like 14 minutes because there's a lot in this video. To give you a quick breakdown, talk about new models from Robin, the stock compensation plan, my thoughts on whether the stock compensation plan is going to pass, what it could do for the stock in the near term, why Tesla stock was up this high in the near term. Obviously, we still have credit and job risks in the economy, but outside of those, my thoughts on Tesla stock, its valuation, what's priced into the valuation, Optimus revenues and profits. There's a lot in here. And yeah, of course, there's a coupon code called Schumer Siesta that's expiring on Wednesday. Sorry for the mistake. Fast forward like to 14 or 15 if you already watched the previous. Well, Tesla stock is absolutely skyrocketing today, and it's because of what Robin just said, combined with some concerns about robotics that Tesla is already fighting. Look, spoiler alert, Robin just said sneakily in a CNBC interview, which we're going to watch all of it, but I respect your time, so I'm going to give you an upfront here. She just said they've got potentially 2 new models of vehicles coming out, which, remember, at the beginning of this year, we went into 2025 thinking we were going to get new lower cost vehicles. The big asterisk was, do they just mean lower cost trims, like with the new Model Y that now has cloth seats, and they've basically just pared down the quality of the vehicle to introduce a lower cost vehicle, which is not what we wanted. And then, of course, Reuters came out and suggested Elon Musk has quietly killed off a $25,000 vehicle, which Elon Musk called fake news, but then ended up being true. Now, it looks like as daddies come back, it looks like there's hope that we're going to get new vehicles, and Robin just slipped it. Because now it seems like the rumor mill is turning that Tesla is going to bring lower cost vehicles back, actually new models. And Robin mentioning it on CNBC suggests that, aha, daddy could finally be back, and we could finally be back to lower cost vehicles, which is helping Tesla stock today rocket over 5.7% just so far intraday, which is absolutely phenomenal. Because if you look after earnings, we actually had a perfect bounce on the Kevin 414 line. And in addition to that perfect bounce on that 414 line, this morning in pre-market, we had a perfect bounce right here on the 433.99 line. And that was driven by a commentary around these new models and the success of the Optimus robot. Now, where do we sit fundamentally, and what did Robin say, and what concerns are there for Tesla, and what did we hear about in the Tesla earnings call from Elon Musk? We have to break all of that down, and we're going to break all of that down. I just want to mention 2 things and get that out of the way. Number 1, I just tweeted just seconds ago here that congratulations, House Hack, also now doing business as Reinvest. We raised almost $500,000 in the last 36 hours. I tweeted about 14 hours ago, I tweeted, wow, in 24 hours from my last video of going debt-free to invest in my startup before AI launch/IPO, we raised well over 6 figures of new investments, likely multiple 6 figures as banks open tomorrow. That has now transformed to almost $500,000 in just the last 36 hours. So as I wrote here in the tweet or X post, I promised to put this to the highest and best use. So thank you to all those of you. If you wanted to learn more about that, remember this video is not a solicitation. Just go to reinvest.co or househack.com. It's the same company, and you can learn about the investment and the artificial intelligence that we are releasing and some of our roadmaps for that AI. And then also just a quick mention for those of you looking for the lines or my trade alerts, make sure to check out the Meet Kevin membership. We've got the expiring coupon code Schumer Siesta on that coming up Wednesday. That'll be Federal Reserve Day. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's understand what's going on. There's a lot of concern about hands when it comes to robotics. Now, we've known this for quite a while. We've been talking about the problem with robotics for a long time being actuators and the actual motors. And this is exactly what Elon echoed in the earnings call. Now, Robin is going full steam ahead, going on CNBC interviews to talk up the dexterity of these robots and how it's fine. We don't have to worry about these actuators because Optimus is already killing it. There's an asterisk on all of this, and I think the easiest way to think about this is understand that today, we don't yet have robots that can do the same thing over and over again that are humanoids. Now, what they can do is make for a great show. And that is a little bit of an asterisk to the robotic revolution, but that doesn't stop Tesla stock from being enthusiastic on not just margin debts at all-time highs, now of well over $1.1 trillion, historic high that we've ever seen for margin. Tesla is one of the largest retail held stocks ever. It's certainly a top 10 holding of retail in total. Robin gives us the greatest optimism that Tesla might be ahead of the robotics problems, and this talk about 2 new vehicles, really, really exciting. Now, in just a moment, we're going to break down the valuation for Tesla on a spreadsheet. But first, let's listen to Robin's comments, and we'll add some commentary to it, of course.
We're sitting together 10 years from now. Will we think of Tesla as a car company, or will it be a robot company? You know, just even seeing Becky getting those gummies, being handed the gummies by
pretty cool.
Optimus
being handed the gummies by Optimus. Now, just because Sarah Eisen is into those marijuana gummies, okay, we don't know that they're marijuana gummies, but doesn't actually mean that the robots are really good at the tasks we need robots to be good at for. See, the big problem we face with robots isn't that they can't be trained to do one thing over and over again. It's that can they do one thing over and over again without those motors burning out? And that's something that we haven't seen capable yet in robotic hands. In fact, that's exactly what Elon Musk himself transparently talks about. Take a look at the earnings call. Bringing Optimus to market is an incredibly difficult task, so I don't want to downplay the difficulty of Optimus. It is especially difficult to create a hand that is dexterous and capable, just like a human hand, but it's more than being dexterous and capable. Elon doesn't even talk about the engineering challenge of being able to replicate this over thousands of repetitions, because it's not just creating the actuators that are in the forearm and the muscles that control the fingertips. It is actually having these robots be able to do this in a way that can fold your laundry or do your household tasks for hours and hours in a row. See, Elon talks about the value of humanoids being potentially 5x that of a human because they don't have to take breaks. They can literally operate 24/7, which is why Elon Musk is so optimistic about robots. Here, he literally says, if Optimus can be manufactured at scale, they could probably achieve 5x the productivity of a person for a year because they could operate 24/7 and they could be plugged in. Now, there are a few things Elon's doing here. Number one is he's really trying to project the future potential cash flow of the business by saying, hey, like these are 5 times more productive, so the value of an Optimus robot is huge. And he is right about that. The risk factor number one is, do we have the battery technology? And the answer is no. First of all, China has most of the battery technology. Tesla just fell out of the top 10 battery manufacturers in the world. Most of them are Chinese companies now. By saying that you could just have the Optimus plugged in the entire time, this is absolutely true, by the way, for a factory line. I've regularly argued that you could just plug these in through a tethered environment so they don't fall over and break if they accidentally trip, there's no reason a humanoid robot really needs to walk around. It's one of the reasons why I've been so bullish on Symbotic. They're a robot manufacturer for forklifts, right? A manufacturing robotic manufacturer. And we've been bullish on them since about this 2182 line over here. You know, it's more than 3x since then. So, Symbotic, geez, it's up 9% just today. I mean, this has been in our alpha reports. It's been in our Meet Kevin membership. We've been talking about this and fundamentally analyzing this for a while in our stock tab in the stocks group where we do our fundamental analysis, for example. We regularly talk about companies just like this. But what's important here is that Symbotic is so different from an from a humanoid robotic manufacturer, because they're designing robotics that are designed for repetitive action. What really the humanoid revolution is looking to do is capitalize on our own desire not to have to do things around our house. Load the dishwasher, fold the laundry, clean the house, babysit the child, change the child's diaper, whatever. If we can imagine a robot doing the boring things for us, like go mow the grass, whatever, in sort of a universal manner, it actually becomes a very provocative investment thesis, because many of us would look and say, hey, I would love to have a humanoid robotic just do all this boring stuff for me that could go work all the time for me or on my behalf. It's so provocative that, of course, it becomes a naturally desirable investment that we want to make. Tesla is basically the biggest humanoid robotic startup. And it's that provocativeness that's driving the stock. It's not fundamentals right now. It's the provocativeness of, wow, not only can this create massive cash flow, but the hope that we'll have to work less, plus the technicals right now and enthusiasm around Elon stock that and margin debt levels, that's what's driving Tesla stock right now, not the fundamentals. We'll look at the fundamentals in just a moment. Recognize also that Robin right now is on a mission to get Elon Musk his stock comp. So she's going to drop nuggets that are in favor of Elon getting his stock comp, because that's her job right now, is make sure not only she gets her stock bonuses, but Elon gets his stock bonuses. Because otherwise, there's this hinted risk that, well, maybe Elon's just not going to develop humanoid robots. So of course, they're basically doing a road show to get people to vote for Elon's stock plan. The sales pitch is, hey, sure, Elon might become a trillionaire if he hits all these milestones, but you'll be rich too. You'll make a 10x on your money or whatever you'll make on your money if you invest in Tesla stock and we actually, achieve these goals. So let's listen in to some more of this pitching. Just know this is a sales pitch for people to vote for the stock plan.
Is that what it is? And how close are we to true dexterity? Because, people always say that robots can do a lot, but they still can't fold laundry, for example.
Oh, well, Optimus can fold laundry. I've actually
I would say it was a pretty gentle grasp with the gummies that he could have squished.
See,
once or twice.
This is part of the roadshow. Oh, well, see, we don't have dexterity problems. Our robot can already fold laundry. Our robot can do this. Right, but can it fold laundry for 1,000 hours in a row or even 10 hours in a row? No, of course not. We're nowhere near that. That's the big issue with robotics today.
Him like he did just now. And he went back and picked him up carefully.
No, that's
pretty gentle.
Exactly right. So I've been in the lab with Optimus. He can fold laundry. He can wipe the table down really well. He can hand things to you. You can actually shake hands with him.
This is, in my opinion, just to be clear, we are like so far away from humanoid robots. And I'm not trying to be bearish on it because it's a future. I'm just today bullish on robots that are just sitting like mounted to a manufacturing surface and robotic arms just doing stuff over and over again. The same motion over and over again. That's where the money is, okay? That's where the big PP is right now, the pricing power of robotics. Humanoids are a provocative vision. They sell us hope that we could be lazy bums. And that people will throw money at, okay? So, that's what this is. It's a public startup, basically, for that. I mean, why do you think there's so much talk about the hand here? Well, I mean, frankly, because if you want a humanoid rather than, one fixed robot, you need a hand that's not going to burn out. You need the hand to last. It's going to take a while.
The tactile nature of his hand is actually really very good. And so
I wasn't supposed to.
This is a direct counter, by the way, to the Wall Street Journal article here. See, the Wall Street Journal article from 2 days ago, from Saturday, she's basically directly responding to this. They talk about how to replace muscle and skin with motors, how tendons in our body are self-lubricating, where these actuators are not self-lubricating inside of robots. Obviously, you could oil them up, but how long does that last? How well does that operate before they burn out? And so far today, we just don't have the technology for this. Just like Elon Musk talks about in the earnings call. In the earnings call, he says, we just don't have the supply chain yet. There is no supply chain for this. Now, one of the upsides is Tesla is vertically integrated, but that's great. You could be vertically integrated, but if you don't have actual products that work yet, then what supply chain do you need? We don't have a functional repeating process yet. Again, it's hope. And so we have to sort of asterisk some of what's being said here. But when we put it all together, we realize, okay, all right, there are some issues here. This is why, for example, Jan LeCun, who's seen as a guy who's really smart in artificial intelligence and sort of often very ahead of the curve, this is why he's sort of bearish on humanoids and LLMs as well. And he thinks there are a lot of breakthrough revolutions that are going to be required to actually get somewhere. Now, Tesla is working overtime right now on the PR side, both on X and with like these CNBC interviews, to counter these Wall Street Journal articles, to counter these AI arguments by saying, oh, well, we can pick up gummies. We can already do laundry. It's great. It's a great sales pitch. I promise, though, we are a very, very long time away from mass manufacturing on these. And that's not to be bearish. It's great. It's bullish for Tesla stock in the short term. But let's listen into some of these criticisms here.
Robotics companies that have been created over the last few years, building humanoid robots. Okay, the big secret of the industry is that none of those companies has any idea how to make those robots smart enough to be useful. Or I should say, smart enough to be generally...
It's not that the companies aren't smart enough. It's we just don't have the physical technology yet.
Useful, okay? We can train those robots for particular tasks, maybe in manufacturing and things like this. But your domestic robot, there is a bunch of breakthroughs that need to arrive in AI before that's possible. So the future of a lot of those companies essentially depends on whether we're going to make progress, significant progress towards those kind of world model planning type architecture.
It's okay. We're not worried about those companies.
So multiple breakthroughs required. He doesn't directly mention the physical breakthrough required here. He talks a little bit more from the LLM side and the actual artificial intelligence side. The hardware side is just yet another factor. Where you could see a little bit more of where he gets stuck on the artificial intelligence is about 12 minutes into this video. And so let's go into here.
And there's about 1 byte per second going through our visual cortex through each fiber of our optical nerves, and we have 2 million fibers, right? So that's about 2 megabytes per second times 16,000 hours. It's about 10 to the 14 bytes. A 4-year-old has seen as much data through vision as the biggest LLMs trained on all the public.
It's a great line. It's basically what he's saying is like a 4-year-old has as much data as our LLMs are trained on today. And basically we need so much more data that isn't available, like to understand human intelligence and artificial general intelligence. We're so far away from that. I couldn't agree more with his analysis that like AI is great. Artificial intelligence, I love it. I call it a productivity tool. Like the way I see artificial intelligence is the people who can weaponize artificial intelligence will make more money. The people who think artificial intelligence is going to do everything for them, they're going to get replaced. So this is why you're seeing your junior level, entry level jobs in white collar jobs, engineering, they're getting replaced. The senior devs who know when to use AI, they're the ones who are actually getting paid more and they're sticking around at companies. You're seeing more retention at companies of higher level individuals, and you're seeing a massive drop off a cliff of retention of lower level employees, in part because of this difference. As an example with, for example, real estate. So we're working to launch our real estate artificial intelligence, which is a combination of multiple different types of AI, including AI we're training ourselves on our own Blackwell chips at HouseHack, which we're now calling Reinvest. Change the name, by the way, because I view it as, hey, I talked about this in my Daily Wealth yesterday. We're changing the name because we're like, we want, the AI is going to be called Reinvest AI, which we're launching soon. And we want to reinvest the profits from the AI into real estate. And we're like, oh, what a great name. Reinvest into American real estate. So the backbone is always American real estate. But anyway, what's so fascinating is people who look at AI and say, oh, it's going to do all my work for me, they won't make money. People who look at AI and say, this cuts out 40% of the work that I need to do for finding deals or renovating deals or knowing what to do, putting together my work list, but I could still negotiate the deal well, I could still coordinate the renovations well, they're going to make way more money. And so that's sort of that combination of human plus AI. That's really where you make a lot of money. And I think that's where we get optimistic. And that's one of the reasons Tesla stock runs so much, is because we hope that, well, the humanoid robot can just do everything for us. But that hope is great for the stock in the short term, along with these new models. But fundamentally, we've got a long way to go before we get to that level. And I think this what he's about to say helps us see that even with LLMs.
Weekly available test. And that tells you that, first of all, we're missing something big, that, that we need AI systems to learn from natural high bandwidth sensory data like video. We're never going to get to human level intelligence by just training on text. This is not happening. Despite what you might hear for some people who are in the cult in Silicon Valley, who are going to tell you, by next year, we're going to have, a data center, a country of geniuses in a data center.
And basically what he's saying is there's a cult in Silicon Valley that says we're going to have artificial general intelligence in a year. It's mostly, he makes the argument that it's mostly just fundraising right now. Like, it's bullcrap. I completely agree, by the way. I think most AI that we see now is like an LLM wrapper, and LLMs are really just lookup tools. They're quite advanced pattern recognition, because you create this world model and then you compare, okay, well, if this happens, what do I think is going to happen next? Well, we look at historical context and patterns to find out, okay, well, this is likely to happen next, probabilistically. This is what we now call reasoning AI, but it's, again, really just fancy pattern recognition. And he makes the argument that there's a limit to how far we can get when we really have the pattern recognition of a 4-year-old at this point, which is also kind of optimistic because it suggests that there's so much more we could do with AI. It just suggests this initial boom is nowhere near enough to get us to AGI. And I agree with that, especially when we combine the lack of AGI with the limitations that we have on hardware today. It's not great for me to get really, really enthusiastic on robots in the near term. Now, don't get me wrong. In my VC fund, we also invested in robots, but we invested in robots like 2 years ago. Before it was maybe like a year ago. Yeah, it's probably been like 18 months now. I can't get my timing straight, but it's been a while ago. Before some of this real latest boom. And so that's when I look at the fundamentals. I even think there's a chance that 2030 could be early. But let's run it for a moment. Let's assume for a moment that Tesla can get us humanoid robots in mass production by 2030. Keeping in mind that Elon's already told us that his goal is to have more humanoid robots than vehicles manufactured. And we've also got this expectation that Optimus 2 is nowhere near, Optimus 2 cannot be mass manufactured. That we need to get to Optimus 3, and in my opinion, we'll probably have to get to like Optimus 7 to actually get to mass production. But he says that right here. Oh, let's actually see here. Optimus, actually, I don't exactly remember where he says Optimus 2.5. Let's see here. Here we go. Optimus 2 is almost impossible to manufacture. Optimus 2.5 can do Kung Fu. And then we have Optimus 3 will be a giant improvement and made at scale, hopefully. But he still asterisks this by saying the very difficult thing is actually getting the manufacturing and engineering down. He doesn't imply that they've already figured out the engineering or manufacturing. That's a red flag. This is an asterisk. And so Elon, really what he's doing is he's building up this, hey guys, we can't mass manufacture yet, and I'm working really hard on being able to mass manufacture this. And if you want me to, you better pay me, because I just want influence on being able to control this robot army. But if I don't get my pay package, is essentially what he's implying if he doesn't get his pay package. Maybe he doesn't want to build Optimus at Tesla. Okay. This is why his pay package is likely to pass, because again, people see, hey, if you make money, I make money, right? So that's why it's likely to pass. Now, if we look at a fundamental basis and we get optimistic here about Optimus and we go out to 2030 and we assume we can do 4 million vehicles, which is twice as many as we have now, this would already assume like a lower cost vehicle is being produced. And we assume 2 million Optimi at 25,000 per. So lower cost vehicle, $25,000 Optimi, great. We're going to go with 18% margin on the cars, no tax credit. We're going to go with a 25% margin on the Optimi. Okay? We're going to assume 2 million Optimi, and we're going to assume 4 million of the vehicles, right? Okay, great. So let's see here. Let me make sure we've got our numbers right here. Yeah, that looks right. So 25,000, 2 million of these, 33, 132 of those. That looks good. We've got our expenses over here. That looks good. Good. All right. Spreadsheet looks good. So what do we get if we have a manufacturing PI or a price to earnings ratio? So on a 50 times forward PE ratio, Tesla by the end of 2030, let's put 2030 right here. It's just the label. This doesn't change anything. Would be reasonable to have a $362 stock price. Okay, it's currently trading at $460, which is a negative 4.6% return between now and 2030, which is obviously terrible. So based on a manufacturing PE ratio, it ain't gonna happen. Okay, so we really have to choose a services PE ratio, which isn't really fair if we're talking about them manufacturing robots and cars, because they don't really deserve services ratio, unless of course you can mass scale robotaxi by them and maybe license the software that goes into these humanoids. Fine. So let's give them that. Let's give them a 78, which is about a 2.6 times, right? For a PEG ratio basis. So that would get us to about a $564 future value in 2030, which gives us a return of about 4.2%. If you bought the stock today, gives you a return of about 4.2% per year for the next 5 years. That's not bad. It's not bad, but it assumes that we can actually pull off 2 million Optimus robots by 2030. If you think it's going to take 10 years to actually get to that, then your return is going to be even less, right? If I throw in 10 years to achieve this, my return is closer to 2% per year. And this includes a lot of risk. Like, what if we can never pull off the robots, right? What if we can't do 4 million vehicles a year? So there's a lot of risk involved in that, where Tesla's pricing is today. There's not a lot of room for error here. That said, there's a lot of optimism because of, the selling of basically the shareholder vote by Robin.
To touch it, but I did.
Yeah, you can. I mean, again, from a cautious perspective, we continue to make sure that people are cautious around him.
And keep in mind, the 4 million vehicle production already includes Cybercab considerations, right? Like, I'm already rounding that in there under the assumption that normal car sales would fall as Cybercab sales go up. And then, of course, the hard thing is pricing in robotaxi revenues, which could be a game changer. The problem with robotaxi revenues is the potential for just, like, what profit will there be if we squeeze robotaxi revenues down to basically a break even? You're better off selling Cybercabs to operators, and that's in my $4 million or 4 million vehicle per year estimate. So I actually think it's better for Tesla to just sell the vehicles and then give other people let other people buy the Cybercabs to operate, because I think the margins will be just way too low over time.
But he also can dance. You've seen some videos. He's very
doesn't matter.
mobile.
Remember,
and very
dancing does not matter. Dancing, picking up gummies once, none of that matters. What matters is repeatedly doing tasks.
Dexterous. He's walking around the offices in Palo Alto all the time. So
does not matter.
So I'm actually quite excited. But I think to answer your question,
of course you're excited. Stock pump.
We're redefining what transportation is, but we're also redefining robotics and what AI brings.
She does have a little bit of the Ozempic look going on. I mean, good for her, right? Because she used to be, much more overweight. So I actually, I'm a fan. If anybody can lose weight and then keep it off, ideally you get off the drug and then, longer down. I don't know if she actually is, but I just see the comments on it. She's probably right. But hey, like I say, if that can help you get to a better state and then you can keep it off without the drug, that'd be great.
Brings to robotics and how versatile the robots will be in the future as well, Andrew.
In terms of, by the way, Elon's spending most of his time, it sounds like these days, on the robots themselves. I mean, that's where his focus is.
This is what they want to pitch, right? Remember, they go into these interviews going, these are the things, like, we'll go on your show, but we want to talk about these things. She has the power to do that at CNBC. So that would be my anticipation. And that's what they want to sell is, hey, Elon's sleeping on the floor, working on robots. Don't rug pull him on his stock comp.
He's spending time on many different areas. On the earnings call, he even talked about the AI chips that he's been working on.
Going back to Samsung on the AI chips, by the way.
And the team are working on. Obviously, the software, we do have a few other vehicles coming out. So he spends time on that.
Few other vehicles coming out. You know, that's a good little hint right there. Whether those will just be pared down lower costs or actually new models. I just pray they'll be newer models. We need newer models.
He's been...
I'll buy another Tesla. If they come out with a new model, I'll buy it. I'll buy it. As long as it's functional for my family, right?
Spending time on everything across the board.
Just keep in mind, you know, this, like, a lot of this talk about the AI5 chip, you know, Elon's already careful to hedge anytime he talks about the chip by talking up NVIDIA because they need NVIDIA for XAI. You know, they're buying 300,000 chips over there. They just closed down Dojo, their own chip manufacturing, well, it wasn't manufacturing, their own chip design line, and they took like a $250 million charge for that because you just can't compete against these NVIDIA chips. The NVIDIA chips are really good. Now, purpose-built chips are nice, maybe for Optimus or otherwise, but you know, there's a red flag there. In terms of its ability to compete with NVIDIA, as much as they want investors to believe that, you know, there's a moonshot here. As far as energy, which is worth talking about, I already include nearly a doubling of energy revenues. And I agree, yeah, Tesla needs a van. So energy, I've already got in my sheet as well. So I've already got another doubling, nearly, of energy in here. Solar, we know, is you don't make money on solar panels. You make money on batteries. And then of course we have to be asterisk. So like, it's easy to list all of the great things Tesla is doing, which is why it's the world's most expensive startup. But it's also important to recognize that a lot of these things are already built into the price. That's not to be bearish short term. Again, the momentum is going to be great on the stock comp plan. The stock comp plan passes, I could probably hit $500 per share. But a lot of the long-term fundamental profits are already baked into the price.
And then finally, because I got to ask you to weigh on it. We've asked everybody, you know, everyone talks about an AI bubble, whether there's a sort of, you know, indiscriminate spending, almost too much spending in this space, and that it's going to catch up to us at some point. Where do you land on that topic?
Yeah, my view is that the technology of AI is truly transformative.
It is.
And it will continue to be.
And used in the right way, the technology of AI is transformative. Again, I think the smartest people in our world will be even more capable, and the smartest companies become even more capable because of AI. And this is actually why I think the rich actually end up getting even richer. I think that who benefits the most off of artificial intelligence probably won't be individual people. There'll be corporations who'll be able to keep more of their profit because of AI. I look at this in the way of like, what we want to do with our real estate AI, for example, is we want to make sure home buyers can make the right ROI decisions when they buy the right deal or they spend the right money on investments. Like, if an AI can tell you spend this much on a kitchen and no more because otherwise your ROI will be negative in this neighborhood, to me, that's a net worth positive to people, right? The people who use that technology will win net worth-wise. The people who don't will continue to overspend on real estate without even realizing it because nobody's telling people that they're overspending on renovating real estate. And that's what our AI changes at reinvest.co. So we're excited about that. But again, it helps people who utilize the tool get richer. You know, people who don't utilize artificial intelligence correctly will lose.
Over the next, decade or more in terms of what it's done. I was thinking about this yesterday. If you think about 100 years ago, where most houses didn't have electricity or had cars in the driveways, that to me is what's happening at this point. It's we're changing transportation with AI, and we're changing the way households will work and how workplaces will work with robotics, and I think that's incredibly exciting. And Tesla aims to be at the forefront of that.
Yeah.
Robin, want to thank you for joining us and for bringing Optimus with you.
Now they talk about stock comp and the vote and stuff like that. So, I mean, that's the other thing to look at is, like, in the short term, Tesla doesn't really have very bearish catalysts. So Tesla right now is actually at a great point because the stock comp plan in the near term will be seen as very, very bullish when it passes, because you'll be removing a negative catalyst. There's a really big fear that if Elon doesn't get his stock comp plan, that he'll end up yoinking Optimus, and it'll be a really big negative catalyst for the stock. So ironically, the stock could probably go even higher on the passage of the stock comp plan, and then you have a really good quarter coming up for energy sales, selling solar, selling batteries, anything you could sell this quarter in Q4 before the residential tax credit expiration. Huge benefit for Tesla stock. So near-term catalyst plus the potential of new models, super provocative for Tesla. Very, very, like, not great long-term fundamentals because you're pricing in so much already, right? If I just put this at a 50 PE ratio instead, you're at a negative ROI, right? Between now and 2030. And that's assuming a near doubling of energy sales, 2 million Optimus, 4 million vehicles and cybercabs. We only have a 10% take rate on FSD, right? So, like, we're already putting in high margins on Optimus, 18% margins on the cars. We're putting in massive assumptions here to keep the stock price up. So near-term technicals, great. Next 5 years, it's very shock prone to a compression in margin debt because we have such large allocations to Tesla broadly in the retail community. There will probably be better times to enter it, right? Like, am I saying, run for the hills, it's going to crash? No. I'm saying I think there will be better shock opportunities to enter the stock than at this price. I don't think this is a great time to enter it, even though I think short term you have some potential upside to get past all-time highs. You've got a huge psychological barrier of 500, 488 prior all-time high. We could probably retest this on the vote passing. And over this next quarter. 2026 probably be a different story. But that's my take on Tesla right now. Now, if I look at their earnings call, let me see what else we have here. We'll have to prove the Optimus out. FSD 14. They are working overtime right now to talk up their capabilities on FSD and AI. And I think Ashok is actually doing a really good job on it. Tesla's approach to autonomy, they talk about the end-to-end neural nets. They talk about how, predictive essentially the car can be, which is really, again, pattern recognition on what's been seen before. I see trajectories of chickens or, they're likely to cross the road sort of thing. But I will say, everyone should use AI. In their cars. Like, this is the future. There's no question this is the future. Like, I love when they show the, accidents avoidance here. I think that's not here. It might be in this clip right here. Nope. I'll find it in just a moment. But when they show the accident avoidance, whatever, you get what I'm trying to say, of how quickly the vehicles can swerve out of the way in an emergent situation. Absolutely incredible. Oh, here it is. I don't like driving cars that don't have FSD. My daily drivers, Lauren's daily driver, my dad's daily driver, it's all full self-driving. And there's only a 10% take rate right now on FSD, which is crazy, and it shows the potential upside of greater take rate for these artificial intelligence software. This is incredible. Doing that as a computer for accident prevention, huge for saving lives. There's no question to me that AI, with a human, is so much better than just a human driver. It doesn't get distracted. It's safer. I love this. I think everybody should have FSD. So I'm the biggest bull on FSD. Does it justify the numbers today for Tesla? No. But I love it. And that's why I would love to buy another model of vehicle if they came out with another vehicle. Big fan of this. So, let's see here. Somebody says there's definitely a better time to buy Tesla. I watched Tesla go from the 400s to 100. Well, yeah. Like, remember when Elon was selling, right? That dumped Tesla stock price from, 400s down to what, like a low of 130 at one point, right? So, the company is, I think, the world's most impressive startup. That's the way I like to put it. And the, valuation's a little wild. The basis that I like to use a forward peg basis. And so let's assume that Tesla has 40% growth right now. Let's go grab their current EPS, and then we could factor in sort of a fair value and a back up the truck valuation for Tesla, right? Which I don't think will happen in the near term. Like, I don't want people to hear me say this and then go, "Oh, Tesla, Kevin thinks that Tesla's actually gonna crash." No. I'm saying that in the near term, it's probably going to retest its highs here. But we have $1.67 for EPS, okay? So on a manufacturing basis, 1.67. This is actually very simple. I'll pull this up on a chart for us. So let's just grab a little sheet here. Okay. So on a manufacturing basis, okay, 1.67 times 1.67. Oh, that's funny. It's the same thing. Times 40. Which is the growth rate, okay, equals that. That's its share price. Share price as a manufacturer, assuming 40% EPS growth next 4 years, right? So this is already assuming 40% earnings per share growth for the next 4 years as a manufacturer. As a servicer, we do 2.67 times 1.67, which is the EPS, times 40 equals. That's your share price as a servicer, okay? Now, in order to really grow this, you need to price in massive growth on, to grow this, you need massive energy, robotaxi, cybercab, new vehicle model growth, and Optimus sales. That's how you can justify the share price, is by already pricing in those extra things. If for example, if I could take 2028 EPS, right? Let's take a 2028 EPS. 2028 EPS of $4. Let's assume still 40% EPS growth ahead, right? That's going to be a lot better. Because now as a manufacturer, I could do 1.67. Oops. There we go. 1.67 times $4 times 40 equals, and then as a servicer, 1.67 times $4 times 40 equals, 2.67. And, I guess I have to redo that. There we go. But you can still see those numbers are a far cry from where we are today because of the enthusiasm that's already built in. So fundamentally, it can't be a buy here. But technically, short-term swing, probably up because of enthusiasm around the stock plan. And it makes sense because it's like, you have to think about it as like the business that you could touch the AI of right now. And that's what makes it so freaking provocative. So yeah, I mean, good for Tesla, right? It's great. 6.7, yeah, 6.7. Anyway, so that's my take on Tesla. It's a bet on the future, and it's really exciting.
Why not advertise these things that you told us here? I feel like nobody else knows about this.
We'll try a little advertising and see how it goes.
Congratulations, man. You have done so much. People love you. People look up to you.
Kevin Paffrath there, financial analyst and YouTuber. Meet Kevin. Always great to get your take.